Welcome to I Have Something to Say, where unfiltered opinions meet raw authenticity. If you're tired of the same old canned answers and crave genuine conversations about real issues, then you've landed in the right spot. So buckle up for a roller coaster of diverse perspectives. Yours truly, Sami Jimen Marrero, and my co-host, Chris Majocha, will dive headfirst into topics that impact our daily lives. From the boardrooms to the streets, get ready to hear real people cut through the BS and deliver the discussions you've been waiting for. Welcome, everyone, to this first episode of 2024.
Woohoo!
Woo! So excited. Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sami. How are you?
I'm doing great. And so, listen, people, mi gente, things are about to change here, okay? Because we are celebrating our 5th anniversary. I can't even believe I'm saying that.
It has been, it's been a journey, been a ride. And
What?
through COVID and everything, like, my goodness.
What just happened? And so things are about to change. So we're giving the podcast a little facelift.
Mhm.
Chris, mi hermano, my brother, is going to be more of a co-host now too. So we're going to be co-hosting this baby moving forward, which is pretty exciting because we have so much fun.
You do.
Yeah, when we get on the phone and have those late night, conversations or early morning
Right.
conversations, right? Or driving conversations or
Or, hey, I'm in a meeting, but I got to tell you something real
Hey,
quick.
I'm in a meeting. Text me conversation.
Exactly. You'll never believe what just happened.
And so, so today specifically, we figured it would be great to just kind of like level set, right?
Mhm.
Or benchmark, right? This new stage
Yeah,
that we're going into of the podcast by just going down memory lane. What do you
love it.
think, Chris? Okay,
I think that's a great idea.
we're gonna
And even just from like a technology standpoint, obviously, I think everybody watching this is seeing a little bit different look and feel.
yeah.
And we're going to start having more social media presence coming out. So, but we started this thing in the Orlando County Public Library, recording just audio only podcasts, and then COVID forced us onto video, and here we are evolving again in 2024. So I'm excited to keep growing and going with you, Sami.
Yes, me too, Bobby. So let's take it a step back, right? And just talk about how this whole thing started. So
Yep.
yours truly was invited to be on a local board for an arts organization. And so I went to the first meeting and I started, what did I do, Chris? I started dropping bombs.
You started being Sami.
Yeah. Self-advocating and
Right.
then, and advocating for the community and for better representation and for equity. And it was like,
Yeah.
bomb here, bomb. How was it being on the receiving end of that? I've never asked you that.
It was, and I believe Val, who our guest will be seeing in a couple of weeks as well, was in the room too. But it was just you're a fireball of energy, but of truth and authenticity, and it was what a lot of the employees and even volunteers and people in the arts community had been talking about and wanting to say, and but it was the old guard, the way things were, and you kind of came in and laid the smack down. And I was taken aback, and I think a number of my coworkers at the time in the room were very impressed and were like wow, like we need more people like her on the board. So
You- And so I was so surprised when I was like pulling out of the parking lot because I was very professional though,
yep,
right?
absolutely.
Okay, I behaved. I didn't drop F bombs. I
Nope.
dropped bombs, but they weren't F bombs. And it I was very surprised when I was pulling out of the driveway, just thinking, okay, what just happened? I was just like recounting, the entire conversation and what went down just to make sure, right, that I was also being mindful because
Mhm.
the idea is not to do a smackdown and then alienate people.
Right,
And no,
absolutely.
it's just to show up, speak truth, and then say, hey, and so then now what are we going to do about this? Right. And
Yep,
so some people can't handle when I'm very direct,
yep.
right? But most people, I think, understand that it comes from a place of love. And you clearly did because I'm pulling out of the driveway, my cell phone rings, right? Out of the
Yep.
parking lot, right? Of the place. And it's you. You called me. And do you remember that conversation?
I remember just saying that I was very impressed with what you had said and that I would like to have lunch with you and meet over coffee or something like that just to break bread and find out more about who this lady was that just came in.
And it was you were the marketing manager at
Yep.
that point, in the organization. It's a very well-respected big
Mhm.
organization here in Central Florida that supports the arts, and that's what we did. Like, I don't think not even 2 weeks went by, right?
Yeah.
And we sat down, and we had coffee and some pastries or something,
Yep.
and I was, like, completely intrigued because I'm like, I mean, this was what, 5, 6 years ago,
Yeah.
right? Well, 6 years ago, 6, almost 7 years ago, actually. And so you were much younger and we're from different generations, right? I'm Gen X,
Mhm.
you're a millennial,
Yep.
I'm Latina, you're white male, right? Which is from my perspective, as you already know, right, is what creates most of the problems we have in society. Today, it's like, okay, what does this Jew want to do? Right? Talking to me. But it was so amazing, right? To sit together and just to understand, right? That I don't even want to call it allyship, that you're like a freaking accomplice. Like you're in it, right? Like in
Mhm.
it, right? And it was so refreshing. And I'm like, okay, wait, Chris is part of the tribe. Yeah. Yes. And so I want to thank you now formally. I don't think I've ever thanked you for reaching out, right? And so quickly too. It was like immediate to make sure that this love
Right.
fest, that this love fest that we have going on, started as soon as possible, right? And so
Yeah.
anyway, it was just great, just getting together, brainstorming, talking candidly about
Yep.
the issues facing the arts community. And then it just went into like housing and immigrants and,
Right.
the Black community and all of that because we both have very, expansive circles of friends
Yep.
and they're kind of like colliding now, right? Which is, yeah,
Exactly.
it's so great. And then 6 months into our friendship, our budding friendship, you call me out of the blue, right?
Yep.
And I wanna say that this year, my word for the year is intentional, right? And you were very intentional. You were intentionally looking for something so we can get into trouble together,
Pretty much.
right?
Yeah.
So, what went through your head? How did you even like and just share how we landed where we are today?
Well, I think and even just going again back to that first meeting, it was I got into the arts nonprofit and into the arts community to make a positive change in the arts and help local artists and underserved artists and oftentimes and this isn't a knock on anything, but the support was going more towards the established organizations and wasn't really going towards that like bringing up the next generation of the community and when you came in and spoke and kind of, just were yourself and your authentic self, I guess I saw what I was like, wow, this person is doing what I got into this to do. So that's why, wanted to meet you for lunch there that day. And then I think it was from that I was like, wow, yeah, found somebody in my tribe, somebody that I really wanted to work with that I respected, but I didn't know at that time, me being, an employee in the nonprofit, you running your own business, how I could how we could collaborate together. And so that's when I gave you that call and I was like, so what could I offer Sami for her to, want to or be willing to collaborate? And what I had was more of the content technical skill set of, just audio and video and stuff like that. So I remember calling you and asking you, I believe it was along the lines of, yeah, just like what have you always wanted to do that you haven't been able to do because you don't have the technical ability or the support to do? And I think you jumped in with podcasts right away.
That was the first thing that came out of my mouth. I said, holy crap, a podcast. And you're like, oh, okay, then let's do it.
Yep.
And I'm like, wait, what? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm like, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, let's go. And 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 it was crazy awesome. It was 2018
Mhm.
when we started this whole thing, right? I remember my father had passed
That's right.
away. Were we in that process? But we didn't let that, right,
Yep.
stop us. Actually, it was a great outlet to keep me
Mm.
distracted after such a huge loss, right, in my life. And I almost feel like he's blessing us, right? And he's blessed us all of these years because we've never been without a guest. We've
Right.
never been well, listen, it's because there's just so much to say.
True.
Uh, this shit doesn't end, right? But anyway, at the end of the day, we started this and just figuring out, okay, so how, when, where, who, why, all of that. It just
Yep.
came together pretty easily. And I want to give it a shout out, right, to the public library, the Orange
Yeah.
County Public Library System, Lisa Stewart
Yep.
with her branch, and Wendy Bost,
That's right.
who's now in Brevard County Library System, right? But, open their doors, let us use the space for free, being really a community collaborator, right? And sharing their resources because Lord knows we were broke. And so it was just fantastic. And we were doing them in person. And I think it was like after 10 months or so, we were doing these weekly and it was audio only,
Yep.
remember, And so Chris, of course, being the millennial that he is, right? Always pushing and wanting, innovating and wanting to do more, right? And playing with your gadgets and all of
Yep.
that. For me, the old broad that I am, I'm like digging my heels into the ground. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Now we got to do something different, not just when I'm on cruise control, right?
Right. It was getting too comfortable for me, so
You want to move. You
right.
call me and you're like, hey, we should record these. Oh my goodness. And for me, just the logistics of bringing in a camera to the library, setting
Yep.
that up, I felt overwhelmed. I was like, no, no, Chris, no, no, senor, no, papito, this is not happening. Right?
Right.
Were you disappointed?
I wasn't disappointed. I knew it was your no meant not now. I just had to work on you a little longer. Find a different angle to approach it from.
That's good. You know me too well,
Yeah.
right? They're like, if you nag and fight and are on my case long enough, she'll give in eventually. I'll put her up.
I'll find the right thing where she's like, "Oh, that'll add value." So I'll
Yeah, isn't it? Isn't it that, right? It's about adding
Yeah,
value.
right.
Yeah. Yes, it's an acronym that, I have a mentor. Anyway, side note, right? That I started this year, a mentor to try to get federal contracts. And he's a white male.
Mhm.
And I love it, right? Because he's like, calls it like it is. And I told him, and I said, I told him flat out, I love that you're an older white male and that you've been in this for a minute, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm sorry if I'm being brutal. And I'm like, oh, puppy, bring it on. This is what I need to hear because I need to get in your head, right? Because I need to get these contracts anyway in this business. But he told me AVP always, oh no, APV, always provide value,
Mm,
And I'm
there you
like,
go.
okay, cool. So back to, right? And back to the video portion of it. And then the pandemic
Yep.
hits. And we were like freaking out for not too long, though, right? In
Right.
terms of the production of the podcast, because we were quickly able to pivot.
Yep.
We're nimble enough. And that's what I love working up with you, Chris, because you get it. Sometimes it's like we don't have time to do all this strategy.
Right.
If our gut and the rationale make sense,
Yep.
just do it. And then we calibrate, right? As we go along. And that's what we did,
Yeah.
right? We were freaking out. And then we were able to really efficiently and quickly shift to remote. And that
Yep.
provided that remote recording. And you're like, aha.
Now our guests can be anywhere.
And we could record,
Yep.
right? Yeah. And so you quickly went, to research mode
Right.
and really figure out how to best capture, our conversations with the community
Yep.
and record this podcast and edit it and, set up the YouTube channel, all of that stuff. Right. And it was pretty quick and turnkey. I think we had like maybe only two weeks that we were
Yeah.
down, and it was fantastic. And so, and I agree. It totally brings so much value to the work that we're doing. We've had so many wonderful guests.
Yep.
I'm afraid of mentioning a handful because yeah,
It would yeah.
it would exclude so many wonderful people, right?
Right.
But what has for you, what been like the biggest reward, right, of doing this work aside from the two tellies
I think they're over my
that
shoulder
we've been
somewhere
there?
here, but no, I think the most rewarding part of this has just been being able to connect with people on a deeper level to provide a platform. There have been people that have been great guests for us to talk to, but we're clearly extremely appreciative of the opportunity and to have a piece of content that they could then put out and share what they were doing from the conversation that we had. And I don't know, there's just been so much real conversations. I remember a couple around like some amazing entrepreneurs on here with some great ideas and businesses. But I remember even, we had some politicians and stuff from Minneapolis during like George Floyd, right in the aftermath of that. And I don't know, there's been podcasts that have made me laugh, podcasts that have made me cry. I've had the fortune up to this point of being behind the scenes where not everybody gets to see that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just as engaged of a listener behind the scenes as our audience is. And yeah, for me, it's just been, I think the collection of experiences is the biggest thing for me. How about you?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, right? Just having an opportunity to ask candid questions and be a witness, right, to
Mhm.
their stories, right? And just getting it firsthand and directly and being able to share moments with people that take them back to the
Mhm.
challenges and the difficulties that they've experienced and then have them open up and make them feel comfortable just sharing again very authentically, unapologetically,
Mhm.
and in a very real and raw way what they went through, and then
Yeah.
share how they got through it, because then that's the how do you say the wonderful stuff that comes out of
Yeah.
it, right?
Right.
Which is what they learned, and then them articulating it in a way that then serves as a teaching moment, right?
Yep.
That okay, for the next person or whoever's listening or watching us have these conversations. And so it's been really great because when because we have these conversations all the time where we're faced with a challenge or an experience that we feel is daunting or that it's only happening to us. And then when we call on each other and
Yep.
share it, right? Then we realize, wait a second, it's not just me. And
Right.
then to have this forum where you can express it and say, yeah, this happened to me. I'm not crazy. I'm not
Right.
making this up, right? I think it's very validating, not only for us, that have this platform, but also for the person that's sharing the experience,
Absolutely.
right? So yeah, so I think that's the thing that's been most rewarding for me is to just be able to ask questions and be nosy. And
And honestly, I will say, I think another thing I've really enjoyed, and again, hopefully I can step in and pull my weight a little bit, but seeing you grow as a host and being able to guide people through some very difficult conversations at times. And then, yeah, it's always funny as well, the people the guests who are extremely nervous to come on, and they're like, well, what are the questions and stuff? It's like there are no questions, it's just informal. And I think that makes them more anxious sometimes. But to see almost their transformation from, the beginning of a 30-40 minute recording to the end where they're like, wow, that was like a therapy session. Like, I need to do more of that. And I don't know, just to see, what we hear their stories and what they're telling us their growth has been. But there's been instances where I think we've seen it right in front of our eyes, or aha moments for our guests and even for us. But yeah, I don't know. It's been an awesome ride, and I'm glad we are continuing it and continuing to innovate and revamp and give it facelifts, and even now with this model that we're going to be working with now, to be able to share even more content throughout the week from each episode. So again, as we talked about, providing value, hopefully what we are putting out here and the stories that our guests are coming on to tell are providing value to other people out there. And if we can help impact, even just one person or a group of people or a community that is feeling a certain way, and they hear somebody validate their experience on the episode, I mean, I think there's impact beyond what we even are understanding of out there. And yeah, just excited to keep doing
yeah, that's great. And so, okay, so this is what I want to do now. Are you ready, Chris?
that. I'm not sure, but ready as I'm going to be. So
Let's renew our vows. Chris Majocha, today I solemnly promise to get you the descriptions of the podcast with enough time so that way you're not scrambling in the editing 2 hours before it gets placed. I highly value your expertise and your love for developing quality content. And I know that my shortcomings sometimes drive you crazy. And so it is my intention moving forward as we celebrate 5 years of I Have Something to Say to get the shit done in a timely manner so that way I don't drive you crazy. I thank you for all your patience throughout the years, for your grace, and for your ability to always smile, even though I know deep down inside you are extremely frustrated. And because of that, I love you. Here, not your turn. You like my vows? Do you like my vows?
I'm a little speechless, Tommy. You got me fluttering there. Tommy Hyman Marrero, I solemnly vow to you that I will do my best to pull my weight as a co-host coming into 2024, that I will try to ease into stressing you out when I have new ideas for the podcast, and work with you until you see the value in it. And I just always appreciate who you are as a person, not only as the host of this podcast. You've been carrying this, and the audience has clearly responded from conversations that we've had just with random run-ins with people. And to be able to do this with you, it's been a labor of love over these past 5 years. We have not solicited sponsorships or anything like that up to this point. I'm not saying we won't, but we have not up to this point, and we've just been doing this as a labor of love to be an outlet for us, but also to provide an outlet for others. And I will do my best to keep this going and to be a equal partner in this endeavor, and hopefully bring the most value to our guests, but also to you as my co-host and co-producer and friend.
And tell me
Done.
that you love me.
And I love you, Sammy. Damn it.
I was waiting for it. Oh my goodness. We have so much fun together. I can't wait, Chris. This is going to be just so cool, so epic. And I also want to talk just a minute before we close, about our new setup, right? So we're using a new
Mm.
platform. And as you can see, you see our signs.
Yep.
I want to give a shout out to my nephew, Lucas Aquino. He got a new machine and all this stuff. He's doing customized stuff. It's really cool. And so I ordered. So the kid got paid too, right? He's a young man and I'm so proud of him. And so we've got these signs that he made for us and I shipped it to you, Chris. I see
Yep.
looking good back there, but then we're also using this new platform to
Yep.
record. And so you'll be seeing us more often, right? And so
Yep.
what's the intention behind that, Chris?
Basically, the intention behind that is, especially with the advancements of technology recently, especially with artificial intelligence, there are a number of things that, especially as a labor of love, have made making additional content from our podcast much more possible and efficient and effective. So we will be having we'll potentially be having blog posts as well as social media shorts that are intended to provide value. So if you are not able to catch every episode, or if you just want some highlights throughout the week, we are going to be providing that as well, and just try to get out there to as many people on as many channels as possible with as much content as possible that is providing value. And again, hopefully just growing this show through the experiences or positive experiences that people are having being guests and listening to our podcast.
Yeah, I'm so excited. So again, thank you, Chris, for being my partner in crime and for, just always pushing me to learn new things, right? This whole thing was completely foreign to me, an audacious goal, and it seemed so easy to do because of your expertise and your care and your love and your commitment to making it happen. So, thanks to you, for me, it's been an easy ride, right? And it's because you have, effortlessly, produced this podcast throughout the years. And I'm thankful that you're always tuned in to the next best way to
Yep.
do it. Right. So, okay.
Well, thank you, Semi. And again, kudos to I can do all the technical stuff behind the scenes, but without the amazing host who has brought us through these 5 years, this podcast would not be here. And I'm just very excited to be now joining you on screen as a co-host and hopefully be able to provide even a fraction of the value to our guests that you've been providing all along. And I think, together and again, with our guests and our audience, we can continue to grow this community that we built through I Have Something to Say and just keep showing that love.
Yes, totally. Well, listen, so I'll see you next week
Sounds like a plan.
and we're going to do this, puppy. Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, Sami. Appreciate
Oh,
you.
I do too. Un beso. This concludes this episode of I Have Something to Say. Thank you for tuning in and tell your friends to find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iTunes. And remember, if you have something to say, it's time to show up and speak up.